My 10-year-old nephew Jack locked eyes with me from across the dinner table, leaned over my plate, and deliberately spit into my food. A smirked. Dad says, "You deserve it." I looked up. My sister Brittany and her husband Cameron laughed. My brother Brandon just shook his head, smiling into his napkin. My mother Melissa, at the head of the table, didn't even blink. She just kept eating. The humiliation was total. Have you ever felt like the invisible one in your own family? Let me know your story down in the comments. This wasn't new. This was just the first time it was so visible. My entire life, I had been the family's invisible pillar, the responsible one, the scapegoat. I was Emily, the 32-year-old logistics coordinator, stable, quiet, and always available. And they relied on that. They mistook my reliability for weakness, my kindness for stupidity. I thought about the call 3 years ago when Brittany needed a cosigner for her car. Just until I get on my feet, I promise. I was still getting alerts for her late payments. I thought about all of Mom's emergencies. The sudden plumbing disaster, the overdue utility bill, the property taxes she'd forgotten about. I covered them all, quietly, no questions asked. Meanwhile, Brittany, the golden child, got parties for promotions, lavish gifts for her birthday, and endless praise for doing the bare minimum. You have to understand, in my family, disrespect wasn't an event. It was the air we breathed. It was a culture normalized over decades. I wasn't a person, I was a role. I was the fixer, the scapegoat, the one they could unload on. My humiliation was their entertainment, a way to bond. Jack's action wasn't a rebellion. It was a performance, and my family was the laughing audience. And for years, I stayed. It's easy to ask, why didn't you just leave? But you don't understand the invisible chains. When you grow up in a system like that, you develop a complex survival strategy. It's not weakness. It's a prison without bars. You learn that fighting back only makes the walls close in tighter. So you stay quiet. You absorb the blows. You make yourself smaller, hoping that one day, if you are quiet enough and good enough and useful enough, they will finally see you. You learn to survive on scraps of approval, and you convince yourself that this is all you deserve. That was my life. Until that night, I looked at the plate of food I wouldn't be eating. I looked at my mother Melissa, who was already turning to ask Cameron about his golf game. I looked at my sister Brittany, who was texting, a smug little smile playing on her lips. I stood up. The room went quiet, and I could feel them all watching me, waiting. This was the part where I was supposed to cry. This was the part where I was supposed to yell to be dramatic, as they always called me. This was the part where I performed my role as the emotional, unstable one, so they could all unite in rolling their eyes and telling me to calm down. My mother sighed, not even looking at me. "Emily, don't start." I didn't say a word. I just picked up my purse from the back of the chair. I walked to the front door, put on my shoes, and walked out. I didn't slam the door. I closed it gently behind me. I was halfway to my car before I heard their laughter start up again. I didn't cry on the drive home. I didn't feel anything. The part of me that used to ache for their approval, the part that would have been shattered, it just wasn't there anymore. It was like a nerve that had been pinched for so long it had finally died. I got back to my apartment, made tea, and sat on my couch in the quiet. The silence in my apartment felt different. It wasn't the lonely silence I was used to. It was a clean silence, an empty space. At 9:15, my phone lit up on the coffee table. It was the family group chat. A message from my mother Melissa. "Don't contact us again." That was it. No explanation. "No, we need to talk." Just an order. An excommunication. I stared at the message, watching the little text bubbles. Then my brother Brandon's icon appeared. He added a thumbs-up reaction to our mother's text. He was siding with them. Of course he was. It was easier. I should have been devastated. I should have been crying, begging them to reconsider. For 20 years, a message like that would have destroyed me. It would have sent me into a spiral of apologies, trying to figure out what I did wrong, what I could do to fix it. But as I looked at the screen at those cold final words, I felt nothing. The chain wasn't just snapped, it was gone. The prison door they had kept me in my whole life, the one I had kept myself in, wasn't just unlocked. It had vanished. I took a slow, deep breath. The air felt different. It felt like my own. I had clarity. Cold, sharp, beautiful clarity. I knew exactly what to do. I picked up my phone. I looked at my mother's command, and I looked at my brother's thumbs up. Understood, I typed, my fingers steady. The $3,500 mortgage auto pay ends tomorrow. I hit send. Then I put my phone face down on the table. I walked to my desk, opened my laptop, and logged into my bank. It was time to clean house. First, the mortgage. I had set up that automatic payment 18 months ago when my mother called me crying, saying the bank was threatening foreclosure. Just for a few months, Emily, she'd said. Just until I get things sorted out. 18 months. $3,500 every single month. I found the recurring payment and clicked cancel. A small pop-up asked, "Are you sure?" I clicked confirm. A small, quiet click. Just like that, the main artery was severed. But I was just getting started. I went to the streaming services. The family bundle, Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, all under my account. All being used by Brittany, Cameron, and Jack. Cancel subscription. Confirm. Next, the family phone plan. I had been paying for all four of them for 5 years, a family plan where I was the only one paying. I logged into the provider's website. I transferred ownership of their numbers directly to my mother's name. The account would be in her name, and the bill would be hers effective immediately. The cable and internet bill for their house. Still in my name from when I'd lived there briefly years ago. I submitted the service cancellation request. Effective tomorrow. Finally, the car loan. Brittany's car. The one I'd co-signed for. I dialed the bank's late-night customer service line. I explained that I was the co-signer and wanted to initiate a release request removing my name and liability from the loan. The agent informed me it would require Brittany to requalify on her own. I said, "That sounds like her problem. Please start the paperwork." As I was on the phone, my phone on the desk started to vibrate. It didn't just buzz. It rattled against the wood, a frantic, angry vibration. I hung up with the bank and looked at the screen. It was the group chat. Exploding. "Brittany, what the hell does that mean? The mortgage, Cameron. Is this a joke? Emily, Brandon, that's not funny. Mom is freaking out. Melissa, Emily, you call me right now. You can't be serious. You're being petty. Brittany, Mom said the cable is being shut off. What are you doing, Brittany? Answer your phone." I read the messages one after another, feeling absolutely nothing. I watched as the three little dots appeared and disappeared as they typed frantically over each other. I picked up the phone. I didn't exit it on silent. I plugged it in to charge on the nightstand, went to the bathroom, washed my face, and got into bed. For the first time in my adult life, I fell asleep before midnight. The silence that followed was absolute. Weeks passed. I didn't just survive in that silence. I started to build a life in it. I went to work. I read books I'd bought years ago and never opened. I found a yoga studio 2 blocks from my apartment and started going on weekends. I was learning to breathe my own air, and I was discovering that I liked the taste of it. My phone remained quiet. No angry calls, no desperate texts. It was as if by cutting the financial cords I had ceased to exist. It was the most peaceful month I'd had in a decade. Then one Tuesday a message came through from my cousin Caitlin. It wasn't a text, just a screenshot of a GoFundMe page. The title was "Help Jack Get Through a Tough Year." The photo was of him smiling at a baseball game. I read the description, and the cold, quiet peace I'd been building shattered. We're a family facing some unexpected challenges, Brittany had written. Our son Jack is dealing with some sudden medical bills, and unfortunately at this same time, certain family members we thought we could count on have chosen to walk away, leaving us in a terrible bind. We just want to get our little boy the care he needs. Any little bit helps. I scrolled down. The goal was $10,000. The total raised $50. A single donation from our mother, Melissa. I stared at the words "sudden medical bills." Zudden. My blood went cold. I knew exactly what that sudden medical bill was. This wasn't a surprise. This was negligence. I remembered the phone call 3 months ago. Brittany complaining that the doctor said Jack needed surgery for a worsening hernia. "It's not an emergency yet," she'd said, "but they want to schedule it. Can you help Em? Just this once, I'm so stressed." I had sent her $4,000, more than enough to cover the deposit and initial costs. 2 weeks later, her Instagram was full of pictures from a 7-day cruise to the Bahamas. Her Cameron and Brandon, all smiles, cocktails in hand. "Living our best life," the caption read. I had assumed naively that they had figured out the surgery money and the vacation. Now I understood. There was no and. They had used the money. They had taken the funds meant for their son's health and spent it on a vacation, knowing that when the not an emergency became an emergency, they could just run back to me. They had gambled with their own child's health, using my kindness as their collateral. This GoFundMe wasn't just a plea for help. It was a lie. It was the final grotesque proof that I had never been family to them. I was the safety net, the emergency fund. The certain family member who was supposed to just absorb their irresponsibility forever. I closed the app. The old familiar ache of betrayal was there, but this time it was mixed with a pure cold rage. They thought they knew me. They thought I was the responsible one who would cave. They had no idea who I was about to become. I was at my desk finishing up a report for work when the text came through. It was from Brittany. Emily, I know you hate me. I get it. But it's Jack. I stopped typing. My heart didn't leap, it just went cold and still. The hernia. It's an emergency now. The hospital says he needs the surgery by Friday, or it could be bad. The total cost is $20,000. Mom and I scraped together $12,000, but we're still $8,000 short. Please, I'm not asking for me. I'm begging you. He needs this. Please, he's just a kid. I read the message once, then twice. The old Emily would have been frantic. She would have felt the crushing weight of guilt, the immediate panicked sense of responsibility. She would have drained her savings, transferred the money to Brittany's account, and then cried, feeling sick and used, but telling herself it was the right thing to do. I sat there staring at the words, and I felt that old familiar pull, that invisible chain. He's just a kid. But then I thought about the GoFundMe, the sudden medical bills. I thought about the cruise to the Bahamas. I thought about the $4,000 I gave them 3 months ago, the money that was supposed to be for this. If I sent Brittany this money, what would happen? It wouldn't be an act of grace. It would be a relapse. It would be teaching them that their negligence has no consequences, that their lies work, that I am and always will be the safety net. It would prove that Jack spitting in my food didn't matter, that my mother disowning me didn't matter. All that mattered was that when the bill came due, I would pay. I would not be their fixer, not ever again. But I would not let a child suffer because his parents were cruel and irresponsible. My hand was perfectly steady. I didn't text Brittany back. I didn't call my mother. I didn't even call Caitlin. This decision was mine and mine alone. I picked up my phone and dialed the number for the hospital billing department. Yes, I said, my voice calm and professional. I'd like to make a payment on behalf of a patient. The name is Jack. The woman on the other end was polite. She found the account. Yes, I see he has a procedure scheduled for Friday. We are still waiting on the outstanding balance to confirm. How much is the outstanding balance? The remaining copayment is $8,000. I'd like to pay that. All of it. Right now. There was a brief pause on the other end. Of course, ma'am. I gave her my credit card number. I listened to the clicks of her keyboard. All right, the payment has been approved. The balance is now $0. He is all set for his procedure on Friday. Thank you, I said. Can you please email me a receipt of that transaction? Absolutely. A minute later, an email popped up in my inbox. Payment confirmation. A green check mark. Paid in full $8,000. I took a screenshot. I opened my text messages. Brittany had sent 3 more. Emily, please, just say something. I tapped the paperclip icon. I attached the screenshot of the paid receipt. I watched it load. Then I typed my last message. It's handled, do not contact me again. I hit send. Then I went to her contact info, block. I went to Cameron, block. I went to Brandon, block. I went to my mother, block. The final cut, it was done. I turned my phone off, sat back on my couch, and for the first time in my entire life, I felt truly, completely free. I didn't turn my phone back on for 2 days. I didn't need to. The silence was no longer empty. It was full. It was the sound of a choice I had finally made for myself. When I eventually did, there was only one new voicemail. It wasn't angry. It wasn't demanding. It was just a short, heavy message from my mother, Melissa. Her voice was thick. Emily, I just got off the phone with the hospital. They told me the balance was paid. By you. After everything I said. She stopped and I heard her take a shaky breath. I don't know what to say, except, I'm so sorry. I think I've been a terrible mother to you. I always saw you as someone who could take it, so I gave you everything to carry. I'm so sorry, Emily. I listened to it 3 times, the apology I had waited my entire life to hear. It didn't feel like a victory, it just felt sad. Sad that it had taken this much, this final breaking act for her to finally see me. I thought about my decision to pay. It would have been so easy to let them fail. It would have been justice right, but I realized there are 2 kinds of justice. There's the justice of pulling the weeds, of rooting out the problem and letting it die. That's the justice I served when I cut them off. But there's a deeper kind, the justice of the sower. It's not about revenge, it's about what you choose to plant in the scorched earth you've just cleared. I could have planted bitterness. I could have let them rot in the consequences of their own actions. Instead, I chose to plant a seed. I chose to save Jack. Not for them, for me. It was my final act of power, proving that their cruelty had not in the end made me cruel too. A week later, a package arrived at my door. No return address. Inside was a box of old photo albums, pictures I hadn't seen in years. Me and Brittany before the jealousy set in. Me holding Brandon as a baby. Tucked inside was a handwritten note from Brittany. I'm sorry, Em. For all of it. I don't know how to fix it. And under that, a piece of construction paper folded in half. A kid's drawing of a stick figure handing a flower to another stick figure. In shaky 10-year-old handwriting, it said, Sorry I was mean. Thank you for helping me not die, Jack. Another month passed. Then a text from Melissa. Dinner just us. I'm cooking. A real one. Please. I almost said no, but I went. It was awkward. Painfully awkward. Melissa cooked. Brittany and Cameron were there. Brandon. Even Jack, who spent most of the time looking at his shoes. But no one yelled. No one made passive-aggressive comments. We just ate. We were clearing the plates when Melissa said, her voice quiet. I wasn't fair to you, Emily. I always saw you as the one who could take it, so I just gave you everything to carry. I just nodded. I didn't say it's okay because it wasn't. But as I looked at Jack, who was quietly drawing at the table, and at Brittany, who was washing dishes without being asked, I realized it wasn't an ending. It was a beginning. A new one. A real one. Has a single moment ever changed your relationship with your family forever? Share your story in the comments. I read them all. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more.